Line's good.
Never on.
Whoa.
Hard. Hardly.
Come on, Brent. Line's good. Got real close. The hair high, right? Try and hit 2/3.
Have they saved it for her? Yes, they have.
Welcome to Game of Stones, everybody. I am Sean Graham. Scott alongside, as always. Hello, Scott.
Sean, good evening. I wanted to ask you if you had a chance to go skating on the Rideau Canal yet.
Not as yet, Scott. Been open for 5 days as we record this, but it is my understanding that you have.
Yeah, went out on the first day. It was quite busy, a lot of people, but really fun, to get out there and skate. I think we did 8 kilometers in total. The whole thing wasn't open. But, Sean, tomorrow is Thursday.
Yes.
And I'm going to, after work, ride the new O train.
Ooh.
2 stops and get off at Dow's Lake.
Sure.
And skate from there.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
It's open all the way to Dow's Lake. So,
yeah,
that's the plan. What do you think of that?
I like that. I used to do that when I lived downtown and would teach at Carleton, because Carleton is at the very far end. The last place you can get off is library. It's at the locks at Carleton University. And and I would commute by the canal in January and February. There was one year in particular where I think out of the 12 classes I had in the second semester, I think I skated to 7 or 8 of them. It was kind of crazy how many I could do. But yeah, that's a fun idea, Scotty. Active way to get to work.
And get to be able to ride the new train too. That's opened to some fanfare.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
there you go. In Toronto, they say ride the rocket. Here we say ride the appropriately moving train.
The train that moves slower than it was designed for.
Yes.
Yeah. I got to make sure it's actually running, but I'm pretty excited about it.
Very nice.
So
sign that winter is here. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. How about you?
Maybe I'll get out this weekend. I haven't really thought about it. It's been a pretty busy week with a lot going on, both on the personal side, the work side, the curling side. It's been a hectic week. So maybe get a chance to relax and unwind a bit on the weekend. Go out maybe Saturday morning, do a bit of a skate, come back in, warm up. I bought muffin mix today, which is always fun. Ooh. And maybe make some late morning muffins, hang out, watch some football, still have all the Christmas decorations up. Got to take those down at some point.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe Sounds get out this weekend.
Cool, man. Cool. Excited.
Yeah. So this also exciting, Scott. One of our favorite annual traditions. We mentioned this last week. We delayed it, given everything that was going on news-wise, and still a lot of news this week that we're going to cover. But we are here with our bold predictions for 2025. That's what we're going to talk about today. And to be quite frank, and a bit of a peek behind the curtain, one of the reasons we like to do this episode, or at least that I like to do this episode, I won't speak for you, Scott, is that it gives us a chance to kind of do a round table sort of thing and go all across the world to curling, see what's going on. So we make these bold predictions almost so we can talk about the state of the sport right now. It's almost like a state of curling type of an episode, but then we, hashtag clickbait for bold predictions. You got to have hot takes out there. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to try to incorporate some of the news from this week into our predictions for 2025.
Good stuff, Sean. And before we get to the 2025 hot takes, of course, we have to be accountable.
Yes.
And go back at our 2024 hot takes and see exactly how we did.
Yes. So we'll do that. I do want to, now this sound effect will actually work quite nicely for a lot of things in this episode, but just real quick here, Scott. I don't know if I'll get an ad here. Yeah, we blew it last week, Scott.
We blew it.
I said that Team Ha was from China, and I, in my head, was thinking about Team Han, which is the Chinese team that has been to the World Championships. Team Ha, of course, is Korean. So I blew it on that one. I was off by one letter, unfortunately. So my apologies. Thanks to Shelley for pointing that one out to us. But just wanted to correct the record on that got that one wrong.
Yeah, you sure did, Sean. You blew it, and I blew it by not listening to you. So there you go.
Yeah. So some other things that we were wrong about last year with our bold predictions. We had 11 bold predictions last year. Now, Scott, on the episode, by noting that they are bold predictions, we don't expect all of them to be accurate. So we set an over under for ourselves of 3.5.
3.5 out of 11. Yeah, that was what we.
Yeah. So here's the predictions we made in order that we talked about them on the show. So the first one was that there'd be a major change to the PointsBet Invitational, whether that be in the number of teams that qualify, how they qualify, or the impact that it has, that it wouldn't just be a cash event. So I think that one clearly is in the loss category.
Yeah, wrong.
Said that the Pan-Continental Championship would not be in Canada. That's not so much on that one.
Not so much.
Team Hasselberg wins the Women's World Curling Championship. Should have paid attention to the fall Rachel Homan was having before I make that one, but that one might be a spoiler for what's coming up later. Recast or Curling Canada Plus goes away. I think that's a win. I'm counting that one as a win.
Yeah, I think we count that as a win.
Yeah. Team China does not win the Wheelchair World Championship. That's a win.
That's a win right there.
A Pacific Asia team wins the Mixed Doubles World Championship. That's a loss.
Big L.
Sherry Anderson comes back and wins the Canadian Women's Senior Championship. That's the saddest one.
Yeah, damn.
Carrie Anderson misses the playoffs at the Scotties. That one is a win.
Yeah.
The boldest prediction of all. Now you could say, well, she got into the 3-4 thing, but no.
Repechage.
I think we made a very clear thing that it had to be into the page.
Yeah, I think so. I think I remember talking about that. So yeah, good for us. So that's 3, Sean.
That's 3. I think here's our half point that I'm going to give us. Brad Gushu makes a lineup change because of the residency rule. So
okay.
Made a lineup change, was not because of the residency rule. I'm going to give us a half point.
You know, I don't think anybody would really argue with a half point for that.
Yeah. And if you do argue, yeah, let us know. And then a major broadcast retirement. I think that's a win, Joan.
Yeah. Joan is retired. So yeah.
And then the Scott special that you added on at the end of the show.
Yeah.
Krista McCarville misses the playoffs at the Scotties. That is a win. So by my count, Scott, that is a 5.5 score on those 11 bold predictions.
Well, Sean, we hit the over any way you look at it, right? Even if you don't count that half point. So that's pretty good. These are supposed to be like things that probably won't happen. So
right. So we did it.
Just like that. That's all there is to it, Dustin. That's all there is to it. A winner. Just like that. We'll be right back.
A winner. There you go. So
that's all there is to it.
That's all there is to it. Thanks, Drew. So there you go. So we're giving ourselves 5.5 out of 11 on 2024. Scott, let us get into 2025. A lot going on in the world of curling already this year. Talked about it last week, and a lot happened this week as too. But let's start, Scott. This is going to be the year of Olympic trials and Olympic qualification for member associations all around the world. So bold prediction number 1 for 2025. Canada misses the Olympics or Paralympics in one discipline.
Yeah, that's pretty bold, Sean. That's pretty bold.
So there's, I think, 2 real possibilities based on last year's results.
Yeah.
Unless there's like Rachel Homan or whoever, I shouldn't say Rachel, but because of what Rachel Homan did last year and because of what Brad Gushu did last year, on the men's side and the women's side. It would take whoever represents Canada at the World Championship this year to basically fall into a black hole.
Yeah, finish last.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I think the men's and the women's spots are safe. The wheelchair team finished second. So they're in really good shape on the Paralympic side as well. So where the vulnerabilities are on the mixed doubles side of both wheelchair and for the Olympic mixed double spot as well. So that's where the two vulnerabilities are as we sit here in January 2025. Now, the vagaries of mixed doubles are such that for as good as Brett Gallant and Jocelyn Peterman were, and for as good as Mark Idison and Ina Forrest are, who are going to be the Canada's wheelchair mixed doubles players, because there was that shakeup on the mixed doubles on the wheelchair side, where Mark, who's the longtime skip of that team, and Ina's played forever, they're going to be the mixed doubles rep now, and the 4-person team is going to change. For as good as those 4 players are, the vagaries of mixed doubles are such that they could go have a bad week and then the spot doesn't necessarily come. Canada on the Olympic qualification side, I believe, was 5th. So good position, but it's not impossible to miss the playoffs at the mixed doubles, independent of who you are. So pretty bold, but that's what I'm going with.
Yeah, that's pretty hot fire coming straight out the gate, Sean. The mixed doubles field for the Olympics, is it the same as the men's and women's with 10, or is it 12?
I believe it's 10 still. Okay,
I'm just going to fact check that while we go on to the next one. But yeah, I mean, if there's only 10 spots, it's pretty easy to see how somebody could miss just having a bad week, because that happens in mixed doubles. That said, what Jocelyn Peterman and Brett Gallant did was very impressive a few weeks ago with the mixed doubles. So we'll see.
Yeah. And I should note too, on the Paralympic side, Canada missed the playoffs last year in 2024 at the wheelchair world championship. Kalinda Joseph and Dennis Thiessen went 2-4 there. So again, that's where I think a vulnerability could be on both sides, right? So not locked in on the Paralympic mixed double side and on the Olympic mixed double side. Currently in a position, but again, things can happen in the mixed doubles game. So
for sure. And Sean, it is 10 teams only.
Okay. So that's our first one. Bold prediction number 2. And I will admit this one is based purely off of what has happened the past few days. There is a broom summit in the spring and people's feelings get hurt.
I think we can already check off his feelings getting hurt, Sean. But so this news story, we've been texting about it back and forth. They're calling it Broomgate 2.0.
Colin is the happiest guy in the country right now.
Yeah, everybody's going to check out his podcast if you haven't already about the first Broomgate. But so it caused a bit of a stir for the Masters. It's the Masters that's going on right now.
I believe so.
And some teams have voluntarily decided to not use a certain broom from
There's
Gold
2.
Line?
So there's one from
And
Gold
Balance Plus.
Line. Yeah, there's I think 6 or 7 teams had a specific Gold Line model that they're not going to use. And Team Epping had a hardline model. They were the only hardline team that was in the field this week. And it was
hardline.
Oh, excuse me. Balance Plus?
Balance Plus 2.0. I just read this.
Yes. Excuse me. Yes. Then Balance Plus. So they're the only team using that in the field. And then a bunch of teams are Gold Line sponsored, and they're going to go to an older version of the Gold Line brooms. And Epping was going to use a different foam, but still use the same, because the handles, who cares what the handles are all the same. It was the foam in the pad that was different. So he's going to use that foam, but still be able to use the same brooms. And this is interesting in that John Epping's had a great season. New team, right? With the Horgans coming in, and they've had a great season. They won the event in Phoenix last week, but I mean, it's the event in Phoenix, and how much are people like just out at the pool the whole time? I genuinely don't know how serious that event is, because it's January and you're in Phoenix. Let's have a good
Well, I
time.
mean, it's worth a lot of points. So
It is. It is a big spiel for sure. But they've had independent of that, they've had a really great season so far. I believe they started the year in the 30s in the world rankings. They're into the top 15 at this point. And there's this idea now that with this foam, there's been this arms race in the technology of brooms since the last summit. And so now that the feeling is that some of these foams are too firm, and we're getting to the point, some of the players are arguing that the things that we tried to get rid of in the previous summit with the fabric change are now being accomplished through the firmness of the foam that is being used. So 30 of the 32 teams in the field signed the statement. You can look and see who the two teams that were not signatories on this statement. That's on social media. And John Epping gave an interview to Jonathan Brazeau today in his article and basically said nobody called him. And they talked about it once they got there, and this all happened in the last few days. So I got the sense that he was a little frustrated with how this went. He said they're happy and they're fine not using the equipment, but maybe wasn't thrilled with the way the process went. Dunstone and Brad Jacobs are quoted in the story saying that it's nothing personal against John Epping or against Team Epping. And Dunstone said, yeah, maybe it could have been done a better way, but again, it was all moving very quickly. But it does seem, Scott, that it's inevitable that we're going to go to another sweeping summit, that there's going to have to be some sort of science here on these foams, and do these foams, or the firmness of the foam, does it achieve what was trying to be eliminated in the last summit? We need some sort of scientific proof or evidence that that is indeed the case. And if it is, and there's agreement amongst the players, the member associations, the governing bodies, and perhaps just as importantly, the manufacturers of this equipment, then it'll all work out. But that's a lot of stakeholders for nobody to kind of get their back up.
Yeah. So I definitely think somebody's going to get their feelings hurt over this. The thing is, like, according to the players, they all want the field to be even, but I don't really believe that for the teams that like aren't as good, right? Wouldn't you want some kind of advantage?
Right.
But at the end of the day, they'll figure out what exactly they're trying to stop here. But like, what do they say all the time? Like, if you're ain't cheating, you ain't trying. And there'll be something else that comes up, right? We're never gonna, for once and for all, solve this. I think of it like golf club manufacturers are always trying to make the sweet spot bigger, get it to give you more distance, and all this kind of stuff. And yes, there are rules in the PGA about exactly what is allowed to be used, and that's sort of what we're going to end up with when it comes to curling. Maybe you or me, Sean, were able to get that sweet carving foam and use it on Monday nights, but the equipment manufacturers are going to make what the players want. So
right. And I think curling and golf are in similar spots in that, and maybe curling even more so, that the stuff that's being made for the high level players is not really that different from what is going to be available to your average player, your average consumer. And the needs are very different, right? If I'm playing somebody on Monday or Thursday night and they want to have a plastic insert and have the directional fabric on their brush heads, have a good time. Enjoy it. Yeah. You're going to make more shots, and that's great. So I have no problem with that. But yeah, you can't, or don't really necessarily want that at the highest level. One of the things that a lot of the players have said this week is that at its core, the sport should be about the thrower, right? Who can throw it the best. Mm-hmm. I agree. And I think they would all could note that sweeping has always been a part of the sport, especially now the players are so athletic, so strong, and they're very good at sweeping. But if you get to the sort of this point of, well, it's really about the thrower, if it's impossible to prevent the technology from manipulating the stone to the point where the thrower is kind of irrelevant, does it eventually lead to, well, we don't have sweepers anymore?
I mean, I don't know
Or
about
do you
that,
just
but
or do you just go back to the big thwap 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 thwap?
the beaver tails, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe.
Like you can make a rule on that. But I mean, that's sort of like, as you said, it's kind of this Pandora's box that is now open, and who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Other than that, there will be a summit in the spring and that someone's feelings are going to get hurt.
Exactly. Yeah. So, okay. I think this one is like
It's already
likely.
half. Yeah. Already half win almost.
It's lukewarm take.
Yeah. All right. And bold prediction number 3. Scott, we have one Grand Slam left after this one. I guess because we're recording this on Wednesday of the Grand Slam, this one in Guelph could count. So we have this one in Guelph. We have the Players in the spring. And then we'll have, I believe, 3 next fall, unless they change the schedule.
Yeah.
At one of these Grand Slam events, in either the men's or the women's field, there will be an all international team playoff. So the 8 teams that make the playoffs will all be international. There will be a slam where no Canadian team makes the playoffs. Not both, one or the other, either the men's field or the women's field. But there will be one event where there will be no Canadians in the playoffs.
Yeah, I kind of like this one, Sean. It seems like it's trending that way. The only stick that I see in this is that Rachel Homan is going to be participating in all of these slams.
Yes.
And thus will probably make the playoffs. And on the men's side, Brad Gushu. But yeah, it's very possible there's somebody that has a bad week, or something comes up, somebody's hurt and they can't play. Yeah.
Things happen.
And we're trending towards this, right? We've seen
Yeah.
fields of 6 international teams in the playoffs. So yeah, not out of the realm of possibility, but pretty bold.
Yeah, but that's the thing, like because we've had 6, as you said.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
In the fall, we had, on the women's side, I believe, the last slam, I think it was 6 international teams. So it's not that much of a gap then. And I think that was an international 6 that didn't include Constantini, right? Like,
yeah.
So and those, the Korean team, we'll get to Korea in a bit, spoiler, but like the Korean teams are so good, like in such depth in that women's Korea field right now, that I don't think it's crazy that we would have this. I mean, with Jennifer Jones being gone, it's really Anderson, Holman kind of carrying the torch for Canadian women's curling at the moment. Caitlin Laws, she had a great win yesterday. Like that's an up and coming team. Caitlin Laws, up and coming. She's been she won an Olympic gold medal in 2014. Up and comer, but still, like as a skip, she hasn't like established herself amongst the top skips yet, but I think she will. So yeah, that's bold prediction number 3.
Okay, I like that one. What's next?
Scottish curling appoints a team to either the Worlds or the Olympics that makes absolutely no sense. So this is really on the women's side, potentially, that they make an appointment that is not based on an actual event, that Sophie Jackson, say, loses the Scottish Nationals or has a bad run but still gets appointed, is kind of where I'm going on this. I don't think at this point there's any chance or there's anything that Ross White can do to get the Olympic spot. Maybe there is. It would take a Herculean effort, I would think, to get that spot right now for Ross White. They're great. But Bruce Mowat has just been so good.
Yeah.
So maybe they put Ross White into the Worlds this year to get them that Worlds experience. Thinking of like what the next cycle would look like. I don't know. I would count that too if Ross White goes to this Worlds, but Scottish curling makes some sort of an appointment that gets the Facebook group riled up.
Well, that one is less less hot, but no, I think that's a good one. I do agree that the women's side is more likely because, even if Bruce Mowat's team goes on a terribly unlucky run the rest of the year, it still would make sense to send them to the Olympics. Like,
Right.
I really don't think there's anything they can do other than have one of them break their arm or something, or suffer some injury such that they can't compete as a team. But even still, they would just bring somebody in. So yeah, I like this one. I think we got a chance.
All right, number 5, Scott. Bold prediction number 5. I don't know if this one is even bold, but let's go with it.
Okay.
John Schuster wins the USA curling trials. I don't know if they're the favorite at this point. I believe Corey Dropkin is ranked ahead of them on the world curling rankings. So I don't know if going into this they are the favorites or not. If you remember back in the trials for the 2022 Olympics, Schuster said after the final that that's the hardest he's had to work to win an Olympic trials to Corey Dropkin.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Is this one bold, Scott?
I think it's pretty bold. I'm just going to look really quickly on doubletakeout.com. John Schuster is ranked ahead of Dropkin by 10 spots in the world rankings.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if these are the world rankings. These are the Ken Palm rankings.
Oh, well, that's totally different.
So by the analytics, then yes, John Schuster should be the favorite.
Right.
But you're right. There is this perception that the Corey Dropkin team has come up and at least made it an even race, if not overtaken them. But Schuster's just got that something. It's that kind of experience. It's like when we talk about Krista McCarville coming to the Scotties. She just shouldn't win all those games, but when she's there, she does.
Yeah.
And so you can't really argue with it. And so I sort of think of John Schuster in a similar way. Obviously, he's achieved a little bit more at sort of the world level, but that's not such a bold prediction. I mean, it's not such, I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's not crazy to say this and think that it's bold.
Okay.
That doesn't.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think so. So currently on the world rankings, the non-Ken Palm ones, Schuster is 15th, Corey Dropkin is 16th. As I looked this up.
Neck and neck.
Neck and neck. And the other team that I was thinking about last year was Daniel Casper at the USA Nationals last year. That was the other playoff team that got through on 4-3. Ethan Sampson, Wesley Wendling went to a tie break. But Daniel Casper in that semifinal really gave John Schuster a game. And first half was pretty tight and it was nip and tuck, and Schuster eventually pulled away. But that's a team that could potentially trip him up in a semifinal sort of thing as well. So it's not just Corey Dropkin. There's some other teams in the way there as well. So
Sean, for what it's worth, on Ken Palm, Schuster 12, Daniel Casper 16, Corey Dropkin 22.
Okay. So there you go.
There you go.
All right, number 6, bold prediction 6 here. Scott, 2025 is going to have a lot of events, as always happens in a year.
Mm-hmm.
The Korean Championship, in particular the women's, will be the best event of the year.
Ooh, this is bold. I like this. Do you mean depth of field, top to bottom best?
Yeah. And just overall sort of quality of play, like that. Yeah, I think it's going to be really, really good. And a lot of competition there, given how Korea does their national team selection and all that. I think this is just going to be a really great event.
Okay. Yeah, we've got lots of teams there, right? We've got Team Kim, Team Gim, the aforementioned in this podcast, Team Ha.
Yeah.
Who else do we have?
So we got Eunjung Kim, Eunji Kim, Sungyu Hao. But then if you look at, say, last year's field, Gairu Kim, Bobe Kang, Hai Bai Park, Eunchae
Yeah.
Lee, and Sun Hung Kim. Like, we've seen these teams most of those teams we've seen in Canada playing games, being competitive. These are really, really good teams, Scott, especially those top three: Team Ha, Team Kim, and Team Gim. Those three, have a real high level, but the other ones can all compete too.
Yeah, and there's some young teams that are sort of knocking at the door to come up in the standings too. So yeah, that's okay. I think this is a relatively hot take, and
Yeah,
I'm feeling it.
in a year where we're also going to have Canadian curling trials and
yeah,
but that Korean women's field is really, as we said, is really deep. Some really good teams who can throw, who are great sort of, maybe they don't have the power sweeping a lot of these teams that we see with some other teams, but they're really great sweepers speed wise. They're very athletic in that sense. So they might not be as or they might not seem as powerful in their sweeping, but I think they make up for it in speed.
yeah, I agree. Great sweepers on all these teams. So okay, good one, Sean.
All right, bold prediction number 7. If this is one of our favorite annual traditions as an episode, this is one of our favorite annual traditions as a bold prediction.
Mm-hmm.
Anna Hasselberg wins the Women's World Curling Championship. It's got to happen, Scott.
It's got to happen one of these days. It's like playing the lottery and knowing, like, one day, Sean, one day my ticket numbers are gonna hit. So, I maybe it's more like me playing Wordle every day, and I do the same starting word, because one day, Sean, that will be the word, and I'll get it in one, and I'll be really happy.
Yeah. What is it? You want to give it away?
That's personal, Sean.
Okay. So Anna Hasselberg has played in 7 world championships. She has 2 silver medals to her name. So we'll see if she can break through here in 2025 and get that world championship.
I like it.
All right. Bold prediction number 8. We got 3 left here, Scott. This one is this one's not that much fun. I got to tell you, the last 3 are not fun, and I honestly don't want them to happen. But number 8, we have the lowest scoring Canadian Olympic curling trials of all time.
This one's interesting. The skill is so good. The run back ability is so good.
Yep.
I think that's what worries you the most, right? Is that everybody in the field is just going to be able to clean it up, force singles.
Mm-hmm.
People will play more conservative, knowing the stakes, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, this one, Sean, you're right. It's not that much fun. I can definitely see it happening.
Yeah, and I don't think it's just that the players are so much better at those run backs now and cleaning things up. I think, and we saw this, I would argue, in 2017 in Ottawa and 2021 in Saskatoon. When the stakes are that high, teams are a lot more reluctant to mix it up. That it's that they really ease into the game. Everybody turns into Gunlickson at some point early in these games, and they're just so afraid of giving up a multiple or giving up a steal that at the first sign of anything, it's let's bail and let's just and that has become, I think, even more prominent because they're so good at cleaning things up.
Yeah.
So if the angle isn't great after 4 rocks, all right, let's Hulk smash. Let's try it next then.
Yeah.
So,
live to fight another day will probably be the mantra. So
so that's kind of my fear, that we could get a lot of, we're coming back from break and here's what the angles are: run back, open end.
All
right.
Yeah.
So That's my fear. But I really hope I'm wrong in this one. I want the trials to be entertaining. I want the skips to have to make shots. Like I know that not all blanks are created equal, and that there are some blanks that are potentially entertaining. But if it's the thirds who are making the entertaining shots and the last four are open hits to a rollout, it's not the same.
It's not as fun to watch. You're right.
Yeah. Give me like a double run for a blank on the last rock of the end. Great. Fine.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah.
So, all right. Number 9. And this is because I read the Jonte Porter stuff. Did you read any of the Jonte Porter stuff?
No, I haven't.
The text messages that he was sending to people, his betting pals, came out, and they're so dumb in that he's just like, yeah, I'm going to take myself out of the game, bet the unders. Like, don't people have codes and stuff that they use? Like, anyway, a betting scandal. We have a betting scandal in curling. I don't know necessarily what it is, but I think we're kind of overdue for one. There's been betting scandals since the legalization of sports gambling in most states across the United States after the Supreme Court decision that allowed that.
Mm-hmm.
And now in Ontario as well. I genuinely don't know what the situation is in other provinces in Canada because I don't bet on sports, but at least in Ontario it exists. Every other sport has had one, right? Hockey players have been suspended, basketball players, football players. I don't actually. Oh, baseball, yeah, the Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
Like, there's been scandals in every other sport. We haven't had one in curling yet. I think it's just bound to happen.
I think if people are betting on curling, yeah. I just went to PointsBet just for giggles.
Yeah.
Sean, did you know the Raptors are currently up 7? You can get them to win at plus 130 against the Celtics.
That's not good value. They're not
Plus,
they're not a good basketball team.
well, they're up by 7.
Yeah, 7 points in the NBA. Yeah, that's not exactly insurmountable there, Scott.
So let me see if I can find curling on here. No, I can't even find it. So like,
well, that's weird. They sponsor a major event.
Yeah. So what are we even doing, right? Maybe if people aren't betting on curling, then there won't be a scandal.
Yeah. And then maybe the points bet goes away.
Yeah.
They're not offering lines.
Yeah. Maybe I misspelled it. Curling. No, we cannot find an exact match for your search.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I think that's the only thing holding us back from a gambling scandal.
Right. But the Bet365 commercial has curling in it.
Yeah. It says you can bet on curling. Oh, maybe Bet365 can.
Let's see. Going to Bet365.
We're giving too much
right
sponsorship to these sites.
Yeah, I would recommend the current season of Against the Rules.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. It's all about sports gambling. It's really interesting. So Canada sports betting appears to have curling odds.
Yeah, Bet365 doesn't when I type curling. False advertising. We should nail them.
There you go. Hey, if there's no betting, I'm into it. But all right, maybe there's no gambling scandal and everything's grand.
Everything's cool.
Because you used to be able to.
We've
done episodes on it.
Yeah.
And odds. Anyway. All right. Well, if they took them off, then great. Maybe it's Super Bowl then.
Yeah. Maybe somebody bet on.
Maybe there was a scandal and we didn't hear about it. They just took down all the lines.
Wow.
That is like pure speculation. Please don't anybody quote me on that.
Interesting.
Yeah. All right. Then our final bold prediction, number 10 for 2025. There will be another doping controversy. Now, I'm going to include in this, somebody says something ridiculous or offensive about the Brianne Harris situation. I'm going to count that as a controversy related to doping, that they say something about that. But we might also have somebody else get dinged here as we go into the Olympics.
Yeah, I think that's what what I'm most worried about, or more worried about, is that we're gonna get somebody else dinged, and it's gonna be a whole thing, and it's just not fun for the sport. It's not productive or good to like have these kind of things happen. But
It's not fun to talk about either, to be honest.
No, I don't like talking about it. So I guess, Sean, that feeds into a bit of the news that Brian Harris's suspension was lifted this week.
Indeed, yes. So the ultimate result or what was adjudicated is that Brianne Harris had traces of the steroid in her system, and it was ultimately determined that it was through contact with her husband, that her husband was taking it. And as married couples are wont to do, there was contact between the two of them, and that's how it ended up that it got into Brianne Harris's system. That's what the adjudication was on this. So she was in violation by having the steroid in her system, but that she didn't knowingly take it, and it was also adjudicated that she didn't know that her husband was using it at the time as well. So that's the situation. A week after Team Anderson made a lineup change that affected, of course, Team Carey as well, with Carly Burgess coming over. This week in Guelph, Brianne Harris is not playing. It will be the team, as was announced last week, with Kristen Karwacki at lead, Carly Burgess at second, and Val Sweeting playing third, and then Carrie Anderson at the skip position. And per the team statement, they will reassess after this event what the lineup's going to be, how things will look for the rest of the season. Mm-hmm. I don't know how much Brianne Harris has practiced, if she's in game shape or not, like how much she has been able to throw this year, given these teams, they don't always like live together and practice together that much, right? Mm-hmm. I would assume Brianne Harris has not been on the road with the team. So there's a lot of factors at play into that, but I think it's good that this has been adjudicated, and if it's found that she was not at fault, and great, okay, let's move on and that, but surely something else will happen.
Yeah. Unfortunately, something else will happen. Like you said, good news for the world of curling that this is sort of decided. Not I won't say over and done, but like decided, and she's able to get back out there on the ice with her team. So that's good news. But yes, I think as a bold prediction, inevitably something happening the rest of the year is maybe more likely than not. And so that's why it's bold, because maybe it'll happen.
Yeah. I mean, Brianne Harris is not the first curler to get dinged.
No.
With positive tests and to go through a process of appeal and all that. She won't be the last.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a question of what comes next on that. So Scott, those are our 10 bold predictions for 2025. Not so bold a prediction. The Scotties in Thunder Bay will be a lot of fun.
A lot of fun, Sean.
Yeah.
And I was talking to you before the show that, making these bold predictions has been harder and harder every year, I think. Mm-hmm. And I wondered if something that is a cold prediction has now turned around and become a bold prediction. Mm-hmm. So my example of that was, hey, Team Homan is only going to lose 5 games the rest of the year. That would have been pretty bold.
Yeah, now it's not.
Now people are like, well, yeah, of course.
Yeah,
they can do that. But has it become so cold that it's flipped again and become bold?
Right.
I don't know.
The thing is, though, that they could lose, say, 4 games for the rest of the season and not win either the 2 slams or the Scotties.
That's right.
Too, right? Like they could still have a very good rest of the year, but not win anything, not win those events, like lose a couple finals sort of thing.
Yeah.
And not win those events.
Definitely. It's possible, but
It's a cruel sport.
Sure is. Yeah. Those playoff games mean a lot.
Yeah, they sure do. So there you have it. Our 10 bold predictions for 2025. Run through them again real quick. Number 1, Canada misses the Olympics or Paralympics in one discipline. Number 2, there's a broom summit in the spring and people's feelings get hurt. Number 3, there is an all-international playoff field at a Grand Slam. Number 4, Scottish curling causes some controversy with an announcement by appointing a team. Number 5, John Schuster wins the USA Curling Trials. Number 6, the Korean Women's Curling Championship is the best event of the year. Number 7, Anna Hasselborg wins the Women's World Curling Championship. Number 8, the Canadian Olympic Curling Trials is the lowest scoring to this point. Number 9, there is a curling betting scandal. And number 10, there is a doping controversy. So those are our 10 bold predictions. Scott, last year we made 11 and we said we wanted to be over 3.5. What should our over under be in 2025?
Well, Sean, since we did so well last year, I think we need to raise the bar a bit. I think that if we're 4,
okay,
4.5 or more.
Okay.
Yeah, so if we get 5 of those, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, a couple of them, frankly, are kind of already in the books.
Yeah, so we can be aggressive with our over under.
All right, so 4.5 is our over under. You can let us know if you have any bold predictions for 2025 or what you think of our bold predictions for the season. And I think that'll do it for us this week. So thanks so much for listening, everybody. If you have not yet, please do subscribe wherever you get your podcast, like, rate, comment, all that good stuff helps other people find the show and keeps us growing. Of course, you can head on over to GameOfStonesPod.com. All of our past episodes are there under the episodes tab, and a link to the merch is available to you as well. Of course, if you want to follow along with everything we got going, at Game of Stones Pod on the socials, Game of Stones Podcast on Facebook, and of course, Game of Stones Podcast at gmail.com if you want to let us know what you want to hear on the show. Scott, one other correction of sorts from last week's episode on Blue Sky, which is so much better than Twitter. CT Jameson let us know that there was a rewording of the burned rock rule back in 2022. So that the way it's worded now is that the default is to pull the stone. The non-offending team still has the option, but the default is so that everything comes off. So the actual wording is, if a moving stone is touched or is caused to be touched by the team to which it belongs or by its equipment, all stones are allowed to come to a rest, after which the touched stone must be removed from play, and all stones that were displaced after the infraction are placed to their original positions unless the non-offending team considers it an advantage to leave the stones where they are, place them where they would go. So it is a wording change. It still leaves it to the non-offending team, but it notes that the default should be this. Like, now, this is a cultural thing in the sport. It's going to take a long time for anyone to sort of have that be the default, because I think right now the default is place where you think it would be.
Yeah, I think that's the default, but that's good to know that, if things stop and it's actually worse for you, the default is that the rock gets pulled.
Yeah.
So unless it actively makes the situation better, it should come off. Yeah.
So, but again, it's ultimately up to the non-offending team if it's to their advantage, because the wording does say to their advantage. So,
right.
It's we'll see if that how that sort of plays out for folks, but that is a change. So thanks to a CT Jameson on Blue Sky for letting us know about that one.
Yeah, thanks very much.
All right, couple corrections from last week, bold predictions this week. Scott, I think it's been a productive evening of curling talk.
I think so, Sean. It's really scratching an itch, as our Monday team has been off since the 16th of December.
Yeah. So 4 consecutive Mondays off between the holidays and then consecutive bye weeks, the rare consecutive bye weeks.
Yeah.
Last game of a draw off, first game of the next draw off. So that means, Scott, by the time we step on the ice, it will be 6 weeks minus 2 hours from the last time we played.
Yeah, pretty crazy. So we're playing early? I haven't even looked.
No, we're not. Even at that.
Boy.
And so it's a late draw, or an early bye too.
An early bye. That's something. I don't mind the late draws, to be honest, but yeah. I'm glad we were able to talk about curling. I've been watching this Home and Laws game in the background while we've been going.
Nice.
And like I just can't really wait to get back out there.
Yeah. And it's coming soon. So 5 days away from our return to the ice. We might have an announcement next week too about something else we got going on related to some curling stuff. Don't want to announce it because it hasn't been actually locked in place, but might have something fun for you next week to look forward to as well. So if you want that, you want everything else that we got going on, please do subscribe, because we'll be back with you again next week. But until then, keep those brooms on the ice and don't dump that intern.
Make the final.